What's up, guys? Happy Thursday. Hope everyone out there is staying cozy and nice and cool. Yeah. Welcome to another edition of Unwind with Raya. And as you can probably tell by the bags under my eyes, it's definitely needed today. A nice little unwind session with some tea. So yeah, wherever you're at, wherever you're joining me from, pull up a seat, get cozy, get some blankets over you, plop down and spend the next, hour with me. Today is gonna be all about just chatting. We're just gonna be shooting the breeze. I decided that, pretty much all evening long, when I was like finishing up work, I was trying to think of like a subject or a theme for today, and I've decided that if it ever comes to the point where I feel like I'm forcing it, we're just gonna do it just chatting. We're just gonna pretty much those are gonna be just open spaces, right? Just free spaces where we can talk about whatever we feel like it for the day. Literally just chatting about our days or about life or about whatever pops in our mind. We're not going to constrain ourselves on these days because my puppy, his little booty got in the way. But yeah, for me, as soon as I start feeling like I'm forcing it, I'm out. I don't want to do it anymore. Or like I don't want to, it's just tougher for me to force myself to do something. Because then like maybe I'll let's stick to a topic of, Chicago, and then I'll be here and I don't even really want to talk about Chicago today, and y'all, if I don't want to talk about it, y'all probably don't want to hear about it. So anyways, long story short, happy Thursday. How was your Thursday? Did you do anything fun? More specifically, it's Thursday evening, which is the second best vibe in my opinion of days. So hopefully you're spending it in a way that you love. Hopefully you're doing something that you enjoy doing right now. Yeah. Today I pulled another 10-hour shift. So I'm definitely feeling a bit sleepy, feeling a bit tired, feeling a bit I don't know, like a full day of work. Like those days, I actually look back on these kind of days and I love it. Like the days where I work like a full 10-hour day and it's just like a long day. You get home, you feel tired, but you feel accomplished, like you feel productive. Like I low-key like these days a lot. As much as I don't really complain, but as much as I talk about them, like I actually really enjoy a full day of work, especially since I'm doing something I really, really enjoy doing. Like I really enjoy surveying, but that's mainly because I get to be out in the woods all day. But yeah, as you can see, I'm still wearing my work attire. It's usually a dirty white tee, and some cargo pants. I'm pretty much rocking that Kim Possible look 24/7, or at least at work. It's funny. Anybody else, do you have like a completely different work outfit that you do when you're like your going out outfit or your day-to-day outfit? Like my weekend fit is, I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty fuego. Like it's fire. But my work outfit, maybe it's just because I work, I majority of my jobs I worked with my hands, so I've been like, it's very like, physical labor, like where I'm not trying to get everything scuffed up somewhere in like, pretty much think of days you're going out and spending in the garden, or you're like spending out like woodworking, and that's what I wear. Things that like Noah Calhoun, when he's building up that house for Allie, like that's pretty much my outfit. But yeah. Anyways, happy Thursday. You getting your drink on? What you doing today? You doing some reading? You doing some napping? Doing some binge watching? I've got some Darjeeling tea today. Some black tea. Usually I opt for that green tea, but today I thought, let's go a little bit stronger. Let's go like diet coffee. But yeah, today, I guess my day was pretty good. Not gonna lie. I don't know, man. I was in a real big like 70s mood today, 70s, 80s. So all day I've been listening to like Fleetwood Mac, and like if you ever listened to Gypsy by Fleetwood Mac on a sunny day, like that just puts you in a specific just happy mood that like I encourage you, look up that song when it's a sunny day and you're driving around town. Yo, it's so wonderful. But that kicked me off into a whole Fleetwood Mac / Hall & Oates / Journey / just that kind of playlist. And it was perfect, man. At the last site I was at, Who's Crying Now by Journey came on, and if I'm not mistaken, that's like my older brother James, like one of his favorites. But that song came on, and I forgot how much that song is a hit. Like that song. Who's crying? That song is so good. And that guitar solo. Even my dog's looking at me right now, side-eyeing me like that's how good it is. He knows it's fire. Probably top 10 guitar solos of all time. Hot take. But so I was thinking I was listening to a streamer, and she was talking about how she like cries really easily. So I was thinking about crying today. Like, so let's get into that. Hopefully everything looks good for you guys. I'm always just checking, but once I get more comfortable with this, then I'll check less and less, and it won't be as distracting. So hopefully it's not distracting whenever I keep looking over there. But yeah, I was thinking about crying today, and I like growing up, I wasn't a big crier. Like, and it wasn't necessarily. I mean, maybe it was a society thing, the whole boys don't cry kind of thing. But for me, it never really felt like that because my parents are always like, they encouraged like any kind of showing emotion. Like they didn't. It wasn't like I felt like I couldn't cry. I just didn't ever feel like crying. Like the only times I cried as a kid were like when a loved one, like one of our family like members, or I remember my 3rd grade teacher died, like passed away from cancer. I think I cried at her funeral. Maybe not though. But then like I think the only other time I cried is like when my cat died. We had a cat, Sparkle, who was like my best friend. She would always snuggle up. Like she was pretty much, I don't want to say my cat, but like, cause my family all took care of her, but like she would like sleep. She would like cuddle up with me at nights, and she was my bud. Like we bonded. We did like a special bond. I remember when she died, I did cry. But like there's only really a handful of times like I cried. Like outside of, obviously when I was like a toddler and stuff, like, you hit your head and you cry when you're a little kid. But like in those like school years, very rarely. And then when I was like an adult, same thing. It was like it was really like just major heartbreaks that made me cry, or every once in a while, like a good book would hit me and I would cry. Like I told you guys, Dear John hit me in a special spot where like, man, that definitely made me cry. And the movie made me cry. But like that's it. Like maybe a handful of times. But what I'm getting at is I'm pretty sure love or being in love like changes your chemicals. And the reason why I feel that way is because when I was 26, I fell in love with a girl. And I've talked about her before, but let's call her L. I fell in love with her so hard. And like I'm talking about that kind of love that like you love that person more than you love yourself, which is like that's a level. But I fell in love with her and her son so much that like it unlocked some kind of well of emotions out of me, where I mean about 6 months into the relationship, I was crying at everything, or not everything, but like I was crying at things that would not even make me flinch before, like just little things I'd have a thought about, like, you know, a hypothetical thought about someone like an older couple, like and they were together for 50 years and one of the spouse dies, like that would make me cry, like tears falling from my face. But the thing I remember clearest about like when when I acknowledged that like, oh, something's different now, is I was watching The Equalizer 2 in theaters. Now, you might be asking yourself, Chris, isn't Equalizer 2 a straight up action movie? And I would answer yes, 100%. If you've never seen The Equalizer 2 with Denzel Washington, it's 100% a shoot 'em up action film. It's essentially like John Wick, but with Denzel as the lead, and no puppy. Sorry, I got a tickle in my throat. But yeah, I remember. So maybe like, why did a shoot 'em up, thriller make you cry? Well, I'll tell you. They did this thing. They did some kind of emotional arc. Some little. It was a tiny like side piece of the storyline. Like I can't remember specifics, but it was like one of Denzel, his character, like he had met somebody older, like some like elderly figure, like an old man or an old woman, and either she had passed away or she something, I don't know. You at the very end of the movie, you find out something that like is either really sad or really heartwarming or something. And boy, the waterworks just came. Like I remember watching this and seeing it and being so affected by it, and literally thinking to myself, like, I knew immediately. I knew what the root cause was. I knew it was because I was in love. Like I knew it was because I had this like deep, compassion and love for like another human being. That like that is why I'm feeling these things. And I don't know if it was like transference or what, but I just remember knowing with absolute fact, like, oh, this is why I'm crying. Like it's because I'm in this relationship with a woman I love. And then ever since then, I mean, to this day, I mean, it's been 5 years. And there, like, it's just crazy to me, like how love, I swear to you, being in love changes you chemically, because I'll be sitting watching something today and like, it can be like, okay, best example, the movie Coco. The movie Coco makes me weep, like bawl, like the fact that at the end it's like he no spoiler. I am gonna spoil it. It's it's been out for like 5 years, my guy. So just go see it. This is your sign. If you don't want any spoilers to Coco, pause this right now. Go watch Coco. Come back. You will not regret it. Coco is like one of my all-time favorite Disney movies. Like hands down. It's probably my favorite. But or at least favorite of the new generation, I guess. But yeah. If you haven't seen Coco, it's about this boy who grows up idolizing this like I want to say I think it's based in Mexico, so it's like this Mexican like singer, and he like idolizes this dude, and this dude was like the Elvis of Mexico in like the 50s or something like that, or like back in the day. And anyway, like the idol is like long dead, but the main character Miguel, he gets to go on Halloween essentially, or Dia de los Muertos. I apologize. I can't remember, but my Spanish is probably terrible on that. I promise I'm better than that when I'm prepared. But he gets a chance to go back, or he gets to go like to the land of the dead, or like the whatever the lore is, I guess. He goes to a place where there's like deceased people, or like people who have transitioned after this life into the next life, and he meets his idol, and his idol's an a-hole, like an absolute a-hole. But along the way, he meets this guy who, long story short, his idol ended up murdering, and now he's trapped in this like this land. Because okay, so a big part of it is like on this day, the ancestors of, not the ancestors, what's the opposite of ancestors? Like the children and grandchildren of these people, these deceased people, they like build altars for their spirit, their ancestor spirit. And because they're remembering, then this the ancestors essentially get to come back for the day, or come back and like visit and come to the land of the living, or like at least some version of that. I'm all tangled up, I know, but if this makes any sense to you, if you've seen the movie, it'll make sense. But essentially, this guy had been forgotten. Like he had just been forgotten. He got murdered, and then his daughter thought that he just never came back to her, and he was just forgotten over like a few generations. And at the end of the movie, it turns out something big, but he gets remembered again, and he gets to go back. And so he spent like 100 years in this sad like space where he was. And if you get forgotten enough, like if enough people, like if you never get remembered, no one ever thinks about you, you're gone, like you disappear forever, right? And at the very end, he gets remembered, and he gets to come back, and that made me bawl, like straight up tears. Like I'm starting to tear up just thinking about it. But like it made water come out of my face, heavy. And that would never happen before I was in love. Like that would never, like I would think it's like cute, and like I would think it's good, but it would never like invoke such physical reaction from me, like tears. And that's just like the one good example, but like it happens so often now. Not often, like it happens a lot more often than when I was younger. Like now I'm talking at least a few times a month, where it's like I'll be either watching something, or I'll read something, or I'll be thinking about something, and just like sometimes it's like I can't even, sometimes I don't even, like it's just like my eyes start leaking, and I'm just like, is that from emotion, or is that just like I need to cry? I need like to relieve some tears. But a lot of times it is emotion. Like I'm literally like just, but it's wild, because I never before would I think that I was like quick to tears. Like I'm still not, like it's not, It's so crazy to me because it's only really if it only thing that really affects me like that is like art mediums, like movies, TV shows, books, music, like that. But like if it's like something in real life, it doesn't affect me the same. Like nowadays it's weird. Like death and like that kind of stuff doesn't really hit me, which I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. It's just a thing. But it's like, I don't know. I mean, obviously some deaths would hit, like, especially if they're close to me, like it would, but a lot of times it's just like, that's more now, the older I get, the more I'm like, oh, it's part of life. Like, but when I watch some kind of like TV show where it's got like a sad part in it, man, the tears start coming out. It's crazy. It's like I said, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I was not like that. So I guess we growing. I guess we learning. And you out there, are you a crier? There's like, there's so many different types of criers, right? There's the closeted crier, the one who won't cry in front of people. But then like when they get home and like go into their own room and like they just weep. They just weep into their pillow. There's the open crier, the one who, quick to tears and will cry, has cried in public several times. There's the one that says they don't like to cry in front of people, but always end up crying in front of people. There's the one that legitimately doesn't like crying in front of people and hates themselves when they do it. I knew a girl like that, and it broke my heart that like she felt that way, only because if you know me, it's like, yo, let it out. If it's real, like, I'm here for the real. I'm not here for anything fake. I don't want you to hide who you are. I think that the toughest part of relationships is like opening up completely. Like, I don't know if I've never just opened up 100% completely to somebody ever. And I've been in love. I've been, in close relationships. I've never opened up to like the rawest, like, center of myself to anybody. And I honestly don't know if I ever will. I don't know. Like, some days I think about that, and some days it makes me sad. But then other days it's like, you know what? It's also like, maybe we've just put too much pressure on ourselves to have somebody like that. Maybe we're watching too much romantic comedies where like that's the norm, that's like expected. But like, maybe it's good to have some things that you just keep to yourself. I don't know, man. I don't have the answers. We're just talking on a Thursday night. But yeah, I've never. I mean, I don't know. Now I will say there's different parts. Like there's different. Like, I've never opened up completely my complete self to one person. But I think that's why we have a myriad of relationships, right? I think, other people, I've opened up to people in some ways and people in other ways where it's like completely open in a way, in a sense, but like not just to one single person. Like, no single person has my complete openness. But like a bunch of people in total have pretty much me as a person, right? Like, I like to think of relationships, well, primarily romantic relationships, but this applies to anything. Like, I like to think of it like, whoever I'm dating is like a gardener, and no two gardeners are the same, right? No two gardeners ever plant the same or sow the same or water the same, right? So it's like, let's say I date two people, and the first person I date, waters me like here, and waters and lets me flourish in these ways. Maybe it nourishes my humor and my, sense of confidence and my sense of self-respect, and like grows me in that way, nurtures me there, right? And then if I'm dating someone else later down the line, they're watering this part of me, this, maybe it's self-deprecating, like dark humor, but like still, incredibly loved, a completely different kind of part of me, but it's, you know, it's she, like whoever I'm dating then nourishes me in that way. It's and then I've got friends who like nourish me in this way, and I've got friends who nourish me, like it's not one person nourishing the whole garden. It's like a bunch of gardeners just kind of filling me up in different ways and teaching me different things, and that's how I like to think about it. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's something that I really connect to. And it might just be because I don't open up to one person completely. Like there's never been anyone that not feel comfortable with, but like they kind of, I don't know. I think that's a lot of pressure to put on one person. To like, I don't think we should, that's just my personal opinion. I don't think we should place that all on one person. I don't think that's healthy to expect somebody to nourish us completely in all the ways that we would like. I like to think of that garden aspect where, I'm getting nourished in the way that they nourish, in the way they can nourish, in the way they're comfortable nourishing. And yeah, maybe sometimes there'll be conversations you have to have where like, hey, I want to be nourished this way. I want us to be, I want you to focus over here a little bit more, or vice versa, whatever it is. But I don't think it's ever going to be, for me personally, just the whole thing. If I ever do, that'd be insane. Honestly, I don't know what that'd be like. I don't know. But, yeah. It's one of those, like, it was, I remember, okay, I'm going to be honest with y'all because I'm like, I'm always going to be honest. And I just keep looking over to see if, like chats, but like, so, okay, this was back in my younger days, right? This was back in my college days, but I was like casually seeing somebody, this woman, and she was cool. It wasn't love, but it was like, she was fun to be around, right? And I was like very aware of like the way she brought out of me, like the things that she brought out of me. Like she was quirky, and she brought out this like quirky fun side of me that I didn't really know about myself. But I remember this girl that I was in class with, like she was like dark humor to a T. Like she was just, jokes about like just dark things like death and like, trigger warning out there, but like suicide and that kind of thing. Like I don't think she was suicidal, but she was just like, she had very dark humor. And when I was around her, that brought out my dark humor. Like, it's wild how people can do that, because I actually love dark humor. Like, I enjoy it so much, but only in the right setting. Like, you got to be aware of your like your surroundings and things. But like, this girl just had a knack of like bringing it out of me. Like, she was just so casual and easy with it that like it brought you into that, and like I would just roll with it. And a lot of times we would have just 10-15 minute segues that like just weaving into this dark like just lane that like if you were outside looking in, you probably like, what is wrong with these people? But to us, it was like the funniest thing in the world. And I remember I started to feel guilty because, so a big marker for me, like whether or not I know a relationship's gonna last, is if we go to the grocery store together. If we go to the grocery store together and I have a good time, that's a hallmark for me that like I want to be in this relationship, and like this is something special to me. But like I remember my mom posted on Facebook maybe a year ago, and she like had this post about how her and my dad went for grocery shopping, and it was like the best day, and they just got to hang out. And like my mom hates grocery shopping, but like that's pretty much it. Like you have a person that makes the sucky things fun. like the most mundane things fun, right? And I remember the girl I was seeing in college, I did not like. I purposely like would go before, like anytime she would bring it up, I'd be like, oh, I don't. I would make an excuse because I didn't really want to go with her. Like it was just like it felt like a chore. It felt stuffy. It felt like, it just wasn't fun, and that was a good indicator for me. But the thing I feel guilty about, and I've never admitted it, and like I said, I'm not a perfect person, and this was also like 10 years ago, and I was young and I was dumb. I never cheated. I'm not a cheater. Let's get that straight. I would never. I think that's the worst thing you can do to another person, right? But I remember one time I went grocery shopping with the girl with the dark humor. Like, and it wasn't like I didn't already have plans to go grocery shopping with the girl I was seeing, right? It was just like it just came up. I think she had to get like laundry detergent or something. I can't remember. And I was like, well, I gotta go to the store too. And I didn't really think too much of it, and I should have. But anyways, we ended up going to the grocery store together, and it was the most fun grocery store experience. Like it was like we were goofy, we were laughing, we were having fun. Like it was just like going to the grocery store was a blast. It was the quintessential, like you go and like you toss candies at each other, or you like hold a banana and you like make it into your smile. Just weird dumb like grocery store shenanigans that you do. Like that was just, it was a blast. And right there, like literally a week later, I broke up with the girl I was seeing. I didn't date the girl, the dark humor girl. It just wasn't. I don't know. We didn't click like that. Like, so it wasn't like a romantic thing. It was more like this girl just really, really made me aware of like all these other parts of me, like that I really wanted to explore, and like this side of me. Where this other girl, like she was cool, but I knew it wasn't a fit. Like it wasn't like, yo, if I start going grocery shopping without you, like that's a good sign. Like, yeah, that's a good sign. But it was one of those things that it was like a core memory for me, because that's when I started like thinking about that whole, your friends and your romantic relationships as like gardeners, right? Because over here she was nourishing some parts of me, but like this friend was nourishing all these other parts that were like opening me up into like, oh man, this is a completely different side of me that I'm seeing, like myself. Like I was seeing myself almost as an entirely different person when I was with her than when I was with like the girl I was seeing, right? And I liked who I was more over here. And that blew my mind. That like really taught me that like not be careful, but like be intentional about who you're spending time with. Your friends, your whoever you're dating, be intentional about that, because some people will bring out the best in you and bring out sides of you that you love, and some people it's just not that way, whether it's their intention or not. It's just, we all, relationships are different. Everyone's different, but just take note of the ones that like bring out that good side of you, that side that you like enjoy being around. Like when I was grocery shopping with this girl, like we were like saying some of the darkest like humor. I remember even like in my day to day, I don't think these thoughts, but like when I was with her, it was like, who am I? But it was fun. Like it was invigorating to see this, this part of me that exists. Obviously it exists, but I had never seen it before. So yeah, that was a big time in my life where I really realized, like, the people you're around really can affect who you are as a person. So just be careful and be intentional. But yeah, when we started out talking about what, crying. Yeah, I definitely cry a lot more now than when I was younger. It's wild to me. It's so wild. Like I'll be just laying there. It just happened. The reason it's fresh in my mind is like it just happened to me last week. I was watching what's that one I told you guys about? It's the Japanese one my brother Nick got me into. Alice in Borderland. And by the way, that show is brutal. Um there's a lot of gore, a lot of like, and honestly, Nick, if you're watching this, I had to push pause on it. Like I'm halfway through season 2, but it is so heavy. Like it is like so heavy. Like one of the darkest, bloodiest, like most gut wrenching shows I've seen in a long time. Like it's beautiful. It's beautifully shot, beautifully made. The characters are so well put together and developed. Like it's like one of those things they do it so well in one episode. You meet a character in the one episode, and by the end of that one episode, you are rooting for him, you're cheering for him, or you're crying for him. Like within one, I don't know, I can't remember if it's like 45-minute span or hour span, whatever it is. It's so well written. But it just is so heavy. And one of the last episodes I watched, something it's not even something sad happens. It's something normal for the show, but it's really sad. It's gut wrenching. And I just was like, I paused it and like my ears were filling or not my ears, my eyes were filling up with my ears. Maybe my ears were filling up with tears too. But my eyes were just filling up with tears, and I was like, whoa. Like, man. And it feels kind of good, honestly. Like, it feels kind of good to cry. Like, it's wild. It feels so cathartic. Like, especially if you haven't cried in a while. Like, you just like cry, and then you just get tired, and then you go to sleep. And it's like a really good sleep too. It almost always is. Like the sleep after you cry, it's a good sleep. But yeah, I've it's wild. It's wild. Growing up, I don't know if it's growing older. I've even thought like maybe my tear ducts are getting weaker, like as an adult. Like maybe that's just what happens when you get older. But no, I don't think it is, because I'm feeling emotions as well with it. Like it's not just like, they're just like, oh, let me let some water go now, because I'm 30. But anyways, what else happened today? Oh man, we're gonna just keep going deep today. This feels good. The tea is delicious and nice and hot. I hope you have some beverages with you or something to keep you hydrated. Drink some water. But today I got to hang out with technically he's a client, because we're doing a job for him, but he feels way more like a friend. And it's wild. You ever meet people that like the moment you meet them, you feel like you've known them for years? Like that's what this guy is. His name's Hot Rod. His real name's Rodney, but he goes by Hot Rod. Like on paper, the two of us are pretty different. Like he's, in his late 50s. He's like a former bouncer, like listens to classic rock, has a really long, ponytail. Like on paper, we're pretty different, but in life, like, man, he's one of those dudes that like, yo, that connection is different. It is wild. Like the very first 10 minutes that we spoke together, like we connected, and we just chat for like a long time about just life, about, just everything. Really cool dude, really good dude, like good heart, like everyone. He's one of those dudes like, yo, everyone probably loves him. Like he's just a lovable dude. Um, but yeah, I got to hang out with him today, and we were just shooting the breeze. I mean, it was one of those things like picture like a beautiful, beautiful evening. It's like maybe 5 o'clock. I went up and met him at his place, and like he'd been doing, I think, some yard work, so he had to sit down, and like we just sat in his grass in his front yard, and just like we talked a little bit about work, but we also just talked about life, and was just like shooting the breeze about just, deep stuff about like happiness and like goals, and like he was telling me the story of like one of his family friends who like was like worked at this place for like 50 years and was like a week away from retirement and just drops dead, like a week away after working 50 years at a place. And the dude had plans to like, he moved to like the beach with his wife, and and it's like, that's the kind of guy Hot Rod is, where he'll get into the deep stuff, and like he'll make you realize like, oh yeah, like life's more important than this particular job or this thing. Like it's way more important than what we focus on. This dude who worked 50 years of his life only to make it that last week before he was just gonna fully enjoy, take full advantage of freedom, and he just dies. And he's never gonna, like, he's never gonna, that's wild. Like, but like Hot Rod, he's really good at putting things in perspective for people, like especially like me, where it's like, I'm very much happiness over everything. Like I don't care about being rich, I don't care about being famous, I don't care about being popular. I care about being happy. That's my one, like, whenever, like, on dates and things, like, for example, when I'm on some of the dating apps and whatever, and, like, that's one of my first questions is, like, hey, what makes you happy? Or, like, when I'm going on first dates, it's like, hey, what inspires you? What, like, gets you out of bed? Like, what makes you happy? And I found, just through experience, like, a lot of people, like a lot of people these days, and sometimes some days myself included, like that paper chase, that grind mentality, like that thing that we've all been like kind of, it's been bashed into our brains, like grind till you die, like grind until retirement. And obviously a lot of us are in situations where like paycheck to paycheck, or you gotta grind. If like we done screwed up as a race, like as a humanity, the fact that we have to pay to survive is insane to me. But it is what it is. We'll get into that another time. But like, a lot of us are paycheck to paycheck, and it's tough to not grind to survive, right? But like, I'm also very, very aware of like, you got to be happy while you're doing it. You got to find something that makes you happy. If work doesn't make you happy, you got to find some outlet or something to like enjoy. Like if I had, like, obviously I want to live more than paycheck to paycheck, but like if I had to do that for the rest of my life, but I knew I was going to be happy, I would do it in a heartbeat. I would do it in a heartbeat. Like, and we haven't really gotten into this, but like growing up, like, my family, we didn't have much. Like there was a bunch of us, a bunch of kids. My parents worked a lot, so I didn't grow up with money, but like we were always happy. We always had something to like, we had each other. We had kindness, we had love, we had happiness, and that was so important for me to see and experience as a child, because I look at my parents and there were some years that were struggles. Like, think about it, they had 7 kids, and like 7 kids already is like tough, but like sustaining that and a mortgage and like all this stuff is like, we went through some ups and downs as a family, but like that's normal. But also through it all, like my parents like maintained this like just happiness, and it wasn't like fake either. Like obviously there were times when they'd fight, or we all fight, like there'd be some tensions in the house, like as a normal family, like we go through things, but the undercurrent of it all was like love and like just trying to be happy, you know. So like I guess my mentality these days is always like, man, if I'm rich but I'm unhappy, take the money back, take it all. I don't care. Like genuinely, I don't want it. I'd rather be struggling but happy. And that's like the most honest I can be. Is like, and some people don't believe it when I say it, because I get it. It's like we're in a culture that like we celebrate stacking money, and like we celebrate big paychecks and big bank accounts and things like that. But like, bruh, are you happy? Like, but like what I was saying is, that's one of the first like big questions I ask like anyone I'm dating is like, yo, are you happy? Like, what makes you happy? And a lot of people like struggle with that. And it's a very big cue for me. It's like if I start mentioning this and they like segue into like, they're saving up to do this and this and this, but like it's all things that like that don't really align with what I'm about. Like they're saving up to like, I don't know, you can tell when people are like seeking happiness, and you can tell when people are just seeking some type of security or some type of goal that doesn't really mean much. It's tough to explain. I'll get into it later, and there's nothing wrong with security or like wanting to feel, safe. Or like, especially like a lot of people who, like myself included, who never really had like much of like, I'm gonna be working. Like I gotta work to pay rent and put a roof over my head, right? But you always want that like sense of security where it's like, if something happens, I'm good for a little bit, right? So I get that, but like, if way down buried too deep is the purpose of like seeking happiness, if it's buried too far down where it's like I'm gonna have to like, I don't know. I just know right then it's like, nah, we're not gonna see a second date, just because I feel like that's a big personality trait that like, or like I guess goal for me is like, I remember, okay. So let's just, so this girl I met on Hinge, we were talking back and forth for a little bit, and we were talking about our goal. Like I always probably steer us toward talking about goals and like, what makes you happy. And she just got into like, crypto, and she was starting to talk about like, how she really likes to, like she works, 60 hours a week. She invests, she does all these things like money wise, like it's smart. Like smart money wise, but like to me it felt very, very empty. Like, it's cool, I support you if you trying to get your money up, if you trying to leave a legacy for your family, do it. Like, make it so your kids don't gotta go through what you went through. Like, I get that too. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm a hard worker. Like, I'll put the hours in. My little Nash puppy, he gotta have his puppy chow, right? So don't think that, but like, or think that, I don't care. But it's like nothing on her list of like goals and things led me to believe that she was like, she prioritized her own happiness or her own well-being, like outside of like financially, you know, and that like that's a deal breaker for me, honestly. Like it's cool. Yeah, I got no. Don't get me wrong. Don't I got no problem with like being smart with your money and like investing and doing all things like that. Like that's like no. Like I do some of that too. Where it's like you gotta be smart, but listing like all these different goals, her personal goals, her personal like, and it was all like either finance based or like superficial in my eyes or things that like, and I wanted to hit her with like, are you happy though? Because that's when we get into the meat of things. But it's also like I didn't want to have to spend that conversation talking about, because I knew you could almost tell like it's not going. What's that gonna do? So I eventually end up saying like, I think you're cool, but I don't think we're compatible. I didn't even want to have to like put on pants to go meet this person, because like that's a big deal to put on pants. I'm not gonna lie. Like to give up a Saturday night of me watching Gilmore Girls, snuggling up with my puppy in my PJs. That's you don't have to. That's a special to put on pants. Them leg huggers, man. You gotta. But no, that's just kind of my mindset and things. Is if you're not seeking happiness in this one life we got, no matter what you believe, if you believe in whatever you believe, like at some point it's gonna end. Like I don't want to look back on my life at 70, 80, 90, however long I get to live, and if all I did was pad my bank account, I mean, I'll be happy to leave kids with money, but like, what were the memories I made? Like, what was the happiness? What was like the things that like the times I was genuinely smiling or genuinely laughing? Like, I want those to outnumber any number on my bank account. Like I remember when I was fresh out of. No, I was a few years outside of college. I worked for the post office for like 3 months, right? And shout out to any postal workers out there. Y'all the real ones. Y'all don't get enough love for what y'all do. Let me just give you a little backstory. This ties into happiness, so I guess that's what we're going with. But postal workers, y'all the real ones. Because what people don't understand about, if you haven't worked at the post office, is the majority of people who get brought in as postal workers. I'm not talking about the ones who have been there for 30 years, right? The ones that got seniority, who got like, the new guys, the new people, the new crew. People don't tell you that they put them in as like a flex worker, right? Like, and I don't know the legal term, but essentially you're a flex worker where you'll cover shifts. Cover any open shifts, which means, especially if you're in a city, especially like Des Moines, that is so understaffed and so big. I guess it's not even that big, but it's so like that flex worker is going to have to cover 7 shifts a week, which 7 days a week, right? They're going to have to, and there's not really, it's just the mentality of that place is you're going to end up working 80 hours a week. You're going to end up working 12-hour, 13-hour days, 7 days a week. Like, nobody really, and I know it's prevalent around, because I've asked other people like in other cities, and it's very prevalent because like everything's understaffed, and it's like, yo, that was my first experience. Like, I signed on to this to be like, I pictured like the rural carriers, like, I'm driving my own car in like, the country. You get to see those with they got the little yellow light on top and like the little bumper sticker that says like U.S. mail, whatever. I thought I was gonna do that, like listen to my own music, maybe have my dog with me, like just a box of mail in the back, like, doing that kind of thing, right? Maybe we'll do a post office day because I got a lot of stories. But long story short, that was like my first real experience with like working, those kind of hours. I mean, I'm talking 80 hours a week for about 2 months straight. And I mean, there'd be times where, like, talking about crying, like, give your post office workers, like, give them some love. Like, next time you see them, give them a friendly wave or something, because a lot of them don't know when their next day off is. Like, it's just the culture is so bad within that system. It's like these workers, essentially, if you take a day off or like unscheduled day off, you get a demerit. You get like, you're gonna get let go eventually. I don't know how many you can miss. I think it was 3, but but it's like the expectation is you're gonna be there 7 days. You're doing 80 hours a week. You're doing 7 days a week. I remember I worked, and like, mind you, I was looking for 30 to 40 hours, and I told them that straight up. I was like, yo, I want 30 to 40 hours a week. I'm not trying to do anything more. I would like to make a good paycheck, but the expectation, and no one told me. I wish someone would have told me, because I would never taken a job. But you show up and they're like, oh yeah, 7 days a week. I remember I worked for, and this, I don't know, I worked, I think it was 16 or 17 days straight, which might not sound like a lot, but keep in mind, I was looking for more of a part-time situation, right? But also, they were all 12 to 13 hour days, like hours long, right? So it was about 16 or 17, 13-hour days. And the worst part, it's like, it wasn't even like it was the fact that, like, you were waking up when it was dark and you're going to sleep, getting home when it was dark, and you weren't seeing your family, and like, my eating habits were terrible, and it's like, it screwed up a lot of things. But the worst part was like the mental toll was that I had no clue when my day off was going to be. Like, I had no idea. No one told me. There was no set schedule. There's no like, oh, you get Saturdays off, you get Sundays off. None of that, because Amazon delivers, or like the post office, we deliver on Sundays with Amazon packages back then. So it was like, you had no idea. Like, it could be another 2 weeks before I have a day off, but you don't know until essentially they call you and say, hey, don't come in tomorrow, or don't come in today, whatever it is. Like, you don't know. Like, and that was like the part that like messed my head up the most, was like, I didn't know if I was going to be working the next 10, 15 days in a row, 12-hour days with no break. Like, anyways, that's when like that really started to trigger like my brain of like, okay, what am I doing? Like, what am I working for? Like, it was so clear to me. It's like, I don't ever want a job that I'm doing 80 hours a week. Like, shout out to y'all who can do it. Shout out to a lot. I know it's like prevalent in like hospitals, like doctors will do that, which we'll get into that again. Like, that system is broken to me. Like, why would we have the people we need sharpest working the longest hours and the most messed up shifts? Like, I was doing 80 hours a week, like, just delivering mail and driving this big old beat up square vehicle, right? And by the end of the week, my brain was mush. Like, I would get home and I would like sink to the couch and just not even my sisters would be talking to me, and I was like, I don't know, I gotta go to sleep. I don't know what's being said. So just project that onto a doctor who's still performing some kind of like important either operation or like situation. Like, what are we doing? Like, that's crazy. That's legitimately insane that we those schedules for doctors, like the people we need most into, like they need the most sleep, in my opinion, and we're giving them the least. What are we doing? But all that to being said is like that's what really opened my eyes to, like, you know, what do I value? Like, what makes me happy? You know, I know it's not working 80 hours a week. I know that for a dang fact. No matter if it's something I love. It's just I don't want to spend my entire life in that mindset of like grinding and, you know, big paycheck, but like I'm too tired to even enjoy it. I'm too tired when I get off to even spend the money. I'm too tired to what am I doing it for? For 30 years down the line, 40 years down the line, when I finally get to a point where I feel like I've made enough and I have a heart attack the day I deposit my money, what's the point? Like, and God forbid that happen, but like, that's just how I feel. It's like we live our entire life grinding for 10 years tops, like when we're like least able to enjoy it, when it's like our bones are broken, our body is just so worn down from all the work we put in. So it's like, I get it, security in the old age, I get that's important, the way our society's set up, I get that, but like, don't forget to enjoy it along the way. Like, a lot of my friends are so grind heavy, like that's just ingrained from school age, where you're just like, nah, I put my head down, I'll work these 50 hours, I'll work this, all the overtime I can, I'll provide. But like, are you happy, my guy? Are you happy? Like, that's why I really, like, it resonates with me when I meet people who kind of share my mindset. Like, I've told you about KB, who I work with, who's like my best friend down here. He shares that same kind of thing where it's like, yo, it's funny sometimes when he gets in his head like, I'm only working 40 hours, like he's like, I'm out, I got a life to live, pretty much. Like, after that, I'm done with this job for this weekend. You know, I'm doing my thing, I'm living, I want to enjoy what I've made, I want to enjoy this time now, right? And like Hot Rod, he's the same way, where he prioritizes like enjoying the moment and enjoying, not like delaying your gratification in life. Like, you never know what could happen, man. Like, if you're not enjoying it along the way, man, it's so sad to me. So like, that's why I try to enjoy as much, like just check in and just like, it's tough, don't get me wrong, like especially in this society, it's like they prioritize that 40-hour work week, you know, 40 plus. You get caught up in it, you know, the fear of losing your job, the fear of you not being able to make rent, things like that. It's like, don't get me wrong, I am not well off by any stretch of the imagination. You know, I'll grind with the best of them, but I don't lose myself in the grind itself. Like, I make that clear delineation between the certain amount of time that of work. Like, I find that balance. Like, for surveying, I can go a little bit longer because I love surveying. But like, office job, you're not getting much more. 40 hours, that's it. If you ask me to do overtime after that, I'm out. Like, nah. I don't have a problem working more hours. It doesn't make me happy, you know. Hey puppy, come here. We're getting heavy in it. I didn't mean to go so existential with it, but that's the kind of thing I like about Hot Rod, is he brings this out of me. He makes me think about these things where, you know, it's like it forces me to check in. Like, he'll tell stories all the time about like people he's known, or like things that, like, you know, and that's usually the overlying or the theme above it all is like, yo, you gotta enjoy it while you have it. And I was always growing up. I was always that kid that like I saved my favorite candy bar for a certain time, or I saved my favorite shampoo for a certain. Like I was very much a saver, like a hoarder. Not like in like I didn't have a lot of things, but like I would save the very best things or the things I would very most excited for like further down the way, right? That delayed gratification. Like it was just I don't know who I was. Um, and to an extent, it was just like to have something to look forward to, but like to another extent, it was just I don't know because now I've really like in the last few years tried to make an effort, like a conscious effort to enjoy the things I have now. Like I'll drink out of my favorite mug. Like usually I reserved my favorite cup for I don't know, special moments. I would drink like chocolate milk. I don't know, but now I'm just like I use it to drink my water. Things I don't know. Like, does this make sense? You know what I? Or like I would save. Like I said, I'd save like a specific chocolate, like a special chocolate bar, like maybe a more expensive, like I splurged on this chocolate bar, and I would save it. And oftentimes, what happened, I would save it so long until like it would just go bad, and like I never got to enjoy it anyway. So now what I do is maybe if I splurge, I get that chocolate bar, I'm opening it that first day or that second day. I'm opening it. I'm not saving it. I'm not waiting. I'm not delaying it. I'm just enjoying it now. And maybe in a few months I'll splurge and get another one. It's just things that like I know that's a small scale, but that's kind of like the point of this is, you know, those days, like all those hours you're working overtime, and I'm guilty of it too. Like in the summertime, there'll be times I'm working 50 hours, sometimes 55 hours a week. And in the moment, like I just get caught up and I'm just working, right? But, I just think about like that Thursday evening when I'm staying till 7 or 8. I could have been taking a nice cool bath at like 5 o'clock and maybe watch my favorite TV show or maybe hung out with Nashville. I was going to say friends, but, my introverted life, I'm a homebody. But, or like maybe I would go out and like, try a new restaurant, something like an experience that like I would hold with me because like I don't remember those times I worked. Like I don't remember the overtime hours. I don't remember the paychecks. I don't remember any of that. But like I remember one day I came home early on a Friday because I just didn't want to, I was tired and I took a nap. And then I remember I watched one of my favorite K-dramas, Something in the Rain. And I remember that. Like I remember I remember the times that are fun. And that was my little way of enjoying life, my little way of like harnessing, happiness. So I know that was long-winded, but the point of all that is like, man, are you happy? And if you are, man, I'm so happy. I'm so glad for you. Like I'm so happy. Like I think that's the point of this all of this is just like being happy. And if you're not, that's cool too. Like at least you're thinking about it. At least you can gauge it. At least, my encouragement would just be like seek it out. Like make a concerted effort in your brain to be like, yo, am I happy? Is this what, or if I'm not happy, like what would make me happy? What are things that me as a person, not me as like a provider, me as like a contributor to society, none of that stuff. Like strip all that away to your core. Like what makes you happy? And I encourage you to ask your friends that. Like that's such a big thing. Like Nobody really talks about that these days. Like, you don't ever go out to the bar with your friends and like legitimately, genuinely ask them like, "Are you happy?" And I think that's why, like I said, I gravitate toward like KB and like Hot Rod. It's like they'll straight up ask you like, "Are you happy?" And I do it too. It's like that's my, I don't want to say shtick, but like I genuinely I care about, like, I want to know, like, are you happy? So like ask your friends. And I know it's uncomfortable if you don't do it normally, but like that's more important than like, we get caught up in like, hey, what'd you do at work today? What'd you do? You know, what'd you do? What'd you accomplish? What'd you solve? What'd you, all these things that like we're supposed to ask. They're safe answers, like, or safe questions, like, you know, but like a more interesting and more impactful, a more like almost life saving question is like, are you happy? Because a lot of times, like, if no one's asking it, no one's hearing it. No one's being asked that, like, are you happy? Like, I love asking people, like, are you happy in your job? Because a lot of people, like, they'll react and they're like, they don't expect that question. They expect the normal, like, how many hours you work, or what do you do, or like, how's your boss, like those kind of questions. But like, I literally, like, from the jump, I'm like, are you happy? Does it make you happy? And a lot of people at first are like taken aback. They're like, but like, that's important to like ask questions that like kind of get you like that, because from what I found, it like opens people up. And like a lot of times people are just like, no. But then when you say no, like, that's cool too. It's like, you don't have to be happy at your job. It's just like my way in. And then it's like, then they'll usually hit me with like, but I love doing this. And then I'll like open up a new thing, like, oh, but I love photography. That makes me happy. And then that'll like, we'll start diving into that and like the happiness and like of hobbies, But like, it's one of those that like, you get so much more out of those kind of conversations than you do with anything involving, what's your bank account like? What you stacking that paper? Are you like, what's your savings plan? Which those are important things. I get it, but nobody asks like, are you happy? And I bet you'd be surprised. Like, you'd be surprised if you don't already ask that question. Try it this week. Try it on somebody that like you care about, or just stranger, man. I don't know. Like, but you'll get to some really, really, really cool conversations. Because I've had some really, really dope like conversations with people when you just like ask them that. Because a lot of people, honestly, deep down, even though they don't admit it, they're dying for someone to ask them that. Like, including me. Like, I love it, like, when someone gives me permission to like speak on happiness and to like dive into that. Because a lot of times it helps to like talk about it. I know I keep to myself a lot, but a lot of times it helps to like open up to somebody who's genuinely curious, like, and like maybe hearing them speak about something or speak about their experience, that'll help me, or that'll shed perspective on what I'm currently like going through, So I encourage you, like, I don't know, and I get it, it's uncomfortable. I get that, like, it's not socially the norm, social norms are big, like, if you've ever like tried, just go to your like next time you're in line at coffee or Starbucks, stand in line but then turn the other way, so you're facing the complete opposite direction of everyone else online, and try to hold it there for, as sooner or later you will start feeling uncomfortable. You almost start physically feeling like something is turning you back the other way. I've tried it just to see, because that's who I am. I'm just curious. But like, social norms and constructs are so strong and so ingrained in us that like, but just like that, it's the social norm is to not really ask questions like that. Are you happy? Do you feel loved? Do you feel safe? Do you feel fulfilled? Like a lot, even in like our closest relationships, even like with our significant others, like, and a lot of times that's just because you spend so much time with this person. It's like you're so well entrenched. It's like you don't really check in, and that kind of sucks. But like friendships, like especially, I can't speak on really like female friendships. I have female to female. I mean, like, but like especially with male to male friendships in our society, it's like it is. It's rare that you have like anything outside of like sports, work, family, and maybe a few like 2 or 3 hobbies, right? Like that's about it. But like even those, you're not going deep. You're not going into like the deep, unless you like get really drunk, right? But like you're not really touching like the core of who you are as a human, which sucks. Like that's sad. Like that like most of our relationships with people are like surface level. And like if you know anything about me by now, it's like I don't deal in that surface level, man. I got my O2 tank on. I'm deep diving, right? I'm like cutting my knees on the coral. Like that's how deep I am. I'm seeing those fish with like the weird lights like on the end, you know, the real ugly ones. That's where I'm swimming, you know. And I love it. I love it. Like I from the jump, that's who I am. And it's like a hit or miss thing for me. It's like some people love it and some people hate it. Like not hate it, but like they feel so uncomfortable with it. Because like from the beginning, like I'll say, hey, you know, I'll introduce, like a lot of times it's like friends of friends. So like someone will introduce me and I'm like, hey, I'm Chris. And then within 5 minutes of the conversation, I can tell the conversation's going in that surface level stuff, and it's like I don't care. Like I shut down as soon as we start talking about like things that I really, really like. Not that I don't care about, but I know they don't care about. Like the person I'm speaking to, literally, I know they don't care about it either. They're just saying what they feel like they're supposed to be saying to me. That's when I kind of like jaws, like I'm pulling them down to that deep dive, right? And you don't have to come with me. That's the thing. You are perfectly in your right to cut bait and just swim off, you know? Because some people, like I get it, like diving deep can be uncomfortable for a lot of people. Like myself included. Sometimes you're not in the right headspace. Sometimes, you know, I know we just met, but like I'm gonna take you there. And if I promise you, if you come down there with me, we gonna learn something. We gonna explore. We gonna get into something way more meaningful than you know, like that your grocery store list. You know, we're gonna get way deeper than that. We're gonna get into some existential, like heavy stuff that'll be weighing on your mind like weeks later, you know. Because like that's the reason I'm bringing this up is because, you know, there's my puppy. The reason I'm bringing this up is because Hot Rod, you know, we had a conversation today, and every conversation we have, he is just like me in the sense that he'll bring it out of you. He'll say some things, like we'll get into the deep thick of things where like I'll be thinking about that like a week later, 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, that will hit me, and I'm like, dang. And that's so beautiful, like to be able to go into something that affects somebody else that deeply or that profoundly. But yeah, if you swimming with me, just know you gotta have that life vest on. We're going deep. We go into the deep waters. We go into some uncharted territory. This that Drake's Uncharted, that Drizzy Drake's Uncharted, right? Cause it's just that's just who I am. That's just who I am. I'm curious by nature, but I'm curious about what makes you you, and I'm curious about what makes you happy. I'm not. If you don't care about what you're telling me, I don't care about what you're telling me. If we're just saying what like the word society tells us to say, or like saying things that just we expect the other person wants to hear, I'm not about it. And like I said, it's hit or miss. Like a lot of people, they like either they shut down or like they kind of steer us back on like safer waters. But like a lot of times actually, and it doesn't matter the setting, it doesn't matter if I just met them, a lot of people are more than happy going down, like that sounded bad, not going down, but like deep diving into those deep conversations. Like a lot of people, it's like almost like we all want to talk about it, we all want to go there, but no one ever does, or no one's allowed to, or no one like through a conversation gets permission to go down to that with somebody else. But that's me, baby. That's me. You know, I'm the mom on the phone calling the teacher like, yeah, he can go on that trip. She can go on that trip. That permission slip, baby. That's me. I'm giving you permission. If you in a conversation with me, we going deep diving. Like, I think that's why I'm so good at first dates. It's because we are not going to spend more than 5 minutes on that surface level stuff. Like, I want to know what your dreams are. I want to know in 20 years, you trying to live with me on a ranch with a wraparound porch, watching southern sunsets with dogs running around and kids running around, you know, music coming from rooms. Like, I want to know that from the jump. I want to know if you're on a path toward your happiness. You may not be happy now, and that's cool. That's it's like a what's that called? Like a sine wave. It's like sometimes you're not happy, sometimes you're the most happy, sometimes you're back at it. It's like a wave, that's what life is. At least I think. So it's like when I meet you might not be happy, or you might, but like, are you on a path to happy? Are you at least like, you got a picture in your mind of what you would like to be when you're happy, and are you like just trying your best to get there? Because that's it. You don't have to be perfectly happy. Like, no one is, I don't think. I'm certainly not. But like, I definitely have my days where I'm happy, and like I have, like I'm putting one foot in front of the other to like toward happiness. Not toward money, not toward fame, not toward success, whatever that is, toward happiness. And that's all that. So yeah, I'm pretty good at first dates, if I do say so myself. But we'll do a dating one. I don't know if anyone's curious about my dating life, but we'll do one specifically on dating, just to air out some things, and I'll probably reiterate this fact, like, but dang, we got into it. We got into it. Happiness, man. But yeah. Let's see. I think that's it. I mean, I was going to tell you about my day. I wasn't really going to get into any of that, but like I said, some people you're around, it just brings you out, and I would love to be that for somebody. Like, I hope somewhere I've had a conversation with somebody and it like affected them like the way that, like, KB's conversations or Hot Rod's conversations affect me. Like, I hope somebody, because I mentioned, or because we got deep, that they discovered something about themselves, or it changed something about the way they think, even if it's just so minute, if it's like something. Like, I hope I've had that effect. It's pretty cool, man. It's pretty cool. We just had a 40 minute conversation about it, just because I had a conversation with a real cool guy. But yeah. It's Thursday night. I hope you guys are staying nice and cool. It's getting warmer down here, which I love. It touched like 80 degrees today. I was driving home from Hot Rods, or driving back to the office to drop off the stuff, and the sun was like setting. It was dark, and Journey was. I played "Who's Crying Now" by Journey like 4 times. Like I even pictured like a meme of like FBI agents if they were like tapping my phone right then or listening into me, just like exhausted, just sick of that song because I just kept playing it. It just hit every time. Like it just something about Journey while you're driving. I have a lot of driving songs, a lot of different moods, a lot of songs that just I replay over and over when I'm driving because they just fit. And then what was that, Ventura Boulevard? Is that, I can't remember if that's Ventura Avenue by America came on, and that always just reminds me of Grand Theft Auto Vice City. So obviously I got to drive around late night to that one too. But yeah, I hope it's warming up and you're staying cool though. I hope wherever you're at, you're feeling the effects of spring. Bye seasonal depression. Now it's just regular depression. My friend Mari was like, I told her that and she was laughing. She was like, so now you're no longer cold and sad. You're just sad. I was like, yeah, 100%. You're just now you're sad, but with flowers. But yeah, so hopefully spring's blooming where you're at. I've started working in the garden a little bit. I'm trying to develop my green thumb. I've got my herbs going in my windowsill. I've got basil and thyme and dill and maybe parsley, I think. So we're gonna see. I really last year I was really good at getting them to sprout, but I was not good at getting them to grow any higher than that. So this year they're sprouting. They're starting to sprout. So I'm gonna try to grow from last year. Last year I gardened and I got one single green bean pod out of the whole everything I planted. I planted onions. I planted tomatoes. I planted corn. I planted herbs. Only thing I got to grow, and a really nice sunflower. Like the sunflower grew like real tall and beautiful. Like I got it on my Instagram like way down the line, but it was beautiful. That and one single snap pea or green bean. I can't remember if it was peas or green beans, but it was like one little perfect pod, and I ate it and it was crisp and it was delicious. But like that was like days of work, my guy. But this year, the goal is to start with the herbs, focus on those heavy. I really enjoyed like the idea of chopping up my own parsley for my pastas, and doing like using them for my own things, like my own dill for like fish dishes and things like that. Like I don't know, and then I'll graduate. Like each year I think I'm the gardener, right? Each year I'm developing my skills. Like if I think about it like a process, like a long-term thing, it's less daunting. It's less like I'm a failure, or less like I'm a failure, right? Like it's less like I didn't get anything to grow. I grew one little tiny thing. Like it's easy to get muddled down, but like if I think about it long term, like so last year I grew that. This year I'm gonna focus on my strengths from last year, right? And just build and build. So hopefully you'll be seeing more posts about my herb garden and getting it growing. Because like something even like keeping these things alive, like something about watering and nurturing a seed or like a plant and watching it thrive and grow is like so therapeutic. Like it's just you have a direct impact like keeping this thing, or like watching this thing. Like, you provided the soil, you provided the water, or like you put them in this space. You grew this thing from seed. So like when I see in the mornings, I'm like a little kid. Like, I'm excited. Like, I get up before work and I check the pots and see like what's sprouting, and like my sunflowers are like getting real, almost time to transplant them into the yard, but like they're sprouting real good, and like it makes me giddy. Like, it makes me happy. Like, I'm excited to check. It's funny. Like, I'm excited to check after work, and it's only been like a few hours. But I'm like, oh, the sun. Y'all get that sun today? Like, you can see my smile now. Like, but like I get excited to see like the dill's coming up, and the basil is starting to just sprout up. I'm seeing these green sprouts in this dark soil, and this has been like a week of watering, and I'm just like, I just get excited. I just get happy. And it's just like, it's like almost a miniature version of like what you feel when you like have a dog. And I don't have kids, so I'm assuming that when you have kids, it's even like just a overwhelming feeling, but like that you're growing something, you're keeping something alive, you're like feeding something, and like spending time with it, and caring for it. And I know it sounds kind of dumb with it, it's just plants, but like, trust me, it's something real. Like, I get why people garden, and I get why, it's such a big thing that people can spend hours in their garden, because it's like the patience, and you're just particular about every little, oh, did you get enough water here? Did you get, it just feels good. So if anybody's out there and you're looking for something to like try out, if you've always been like curious about gardening or plants or things, I suggest like getting just start a sunflower pot. Like, sunflowers, for me, I'm so lucky. Like, they love water, so you can't really overwater them. Well, you can, but go to the store, like the Lowe's or the Home Depot. Just get a like a 6-inch pot. It could be plastic, it could be terracotta. Get a little one of those circular discs to put the pot on so it can drain. Get a little bag of soil. It doesn't have to be big. Just get like a seed soil kind of thing, and fill it up. Put a few sunflower seeds in. Just water it. Just water it every day. It forces you to it teaches you patience, but it forces you to kind of slow down for those, minutes that you're watering a day, and you're just kind of intentional. You're just spraying. You're just like caring. It just gives you something to care about, and you're just like, is the soil like wet enough? You'd be surprised how good that is for your mental. Just like put it in your windowsill. After a few days, you see little sprouts. I kid you not. Like, that would be my thing. If I was ever a therapist, I would say, try it, and just know that it doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to, like, if nothing grows, so the first time you try it, the first 5 times you try it, it's okay. Like, that's okay. But if you try it enough, and you like, eventually you kind of find, like, you fine tune it, and you're like, and take it from me, I am by no means, like, my green thumb, almost non-existent. I was so jealous. Like, my mom, she always had a garden, like, from my memory, she always had like a garden or some kind of like plants or like vegetables or something, like even small, like in the city, just little things here and there where like she would just be able to keep alive. And like, I was so not jealous, but like envious, like, because when I started living my own and like started growing plants, like, I kid you not, I was the one that needed the cactus, like the cacti, and I would kill those somehow. Like, those unkillable, like, prickly plants that you only have to water like once a year, or maybe it's more than once a year, and maybe that's why they died. But those plants that like unkillable, they would die. So I'm not like the expert on it. I'm not the green thumb. I I'm not the one that you should come to for gardening advice, but like the benefit for me is like that mental health benefit where it's like it kind of actually calms you down for a hot second. It's like you just focusing intently, and like, and when you do see it sprouting, you just like, man, I just nurtured this thing into literal life, like growing. And no matter if it doesn't make it, no matter if it, like for a moment there, like it was, I had it, right? I don't know. I don't know. That's probably a good spot to end it, because I'm getting hungry and I gotta snuggle up with my puppy before I go to bed. Excuse me. I always end up yawning, which is good. It's perfect to unwind. But hopefully you enjoyed tonight, and hopefully some of it made sense. I don't know. A lot of times, like, this is the most I talk ever. Like, I don't really, it's surprising. Maybe it's not surprising. Like, those who know me, like, like, I'm the quiet one, I'm the one that, like, I don't really speak on a lot of stuff. Like, I'm just content with myself. I'm content. I don't need to participate in conversations, like, so a lot of times I'm not sure if we're making sense or if we're getting back to what we're talking about. Like, I know it doesn't really matter, but, hopefully what we talked about today kind of resonated, or at least some part of it. The moral of the story is, are you happy? So yeah. And that's my challenge, like, this next week, like, or I guess until I see you again, which is gonna be, hopefully I'll be here Saturday. But my challenge for you for the next 2 days is, whoever you're with, if you got a friend, if you got a coworker, if you got a family member, lover, whatever, I don't know why I say it like that, but like a loved one, like, genuinely ask them, like, are you happy? Or, like, if it comes up, does that make you happy? Does your job make you happy? Does whatever you're doing, does that make you happy? And just, like, see where that leads, and let me know about it. Message me, hit up the chat, hit up the comments, like, later on, past tense. You can come back to this video and tell me how it is, because I'll read it and I'll see it. But yeah, I think if a lot of us would, I think the world would be a lot less lonely, or probably just like a better place if more people, like, asked, like, those hard-hitting questions to people, like there wasn't this, like, fear, or I don't know what it is, social norm, I think it is, that, like, we're not going to go deep. We're going to keep it casual. But, like, I am not casual. I am not. Like, tell me all the ways that you've been brokenhearted. Tell me all of your traumas, trauma dump. Tell me all the ways that, you felt unloved as a kid. Tell me all of that. Like, I dive deep. But anyways, that's my challenge to you. You don't have to take it, obviously. I know it's uncomfortable for a lot of people, but I don't know. I think it's good to be uncomfortable sometimes. Just it's better than the alternative of just being numb and just saying everything that everyone else says, and just going along with it, and never having an important conversation, or never getting into anything that remotely makes you feel anything. It just takes me back to, like, those parties when I was in my 20s. It's like everyone's talking, but no one's saying anything of importance. It's like, that's so sad to me. That's so sad to me. It's like, why even go? Why even have those collections of people. Why even do that if nothing's being said? But Saturday night, be here, be square. I'll probably make an Instagram post or a Facebook post or a Snapchat post. We're going to talk about all things anime. So if you are not an anime fan, feel free to skip that one. Or don't. I mean, come through and join in. But if you're an anime fan, I think you're going to like it because we're going to get into some all things anime. We're going to get into my favorite anime, my least favorite anime, and hopefully we get some people in the chat to spice it up a little bit. But we'll talk about anime and society. We'll talk about it all, man. We'll get into it. So yeah, I'm gonna sign off for the day. Hopefully you have amazing Thursday evenings. The rest of your evening is beautiful. Hopefully where you are you can see the stars. And I hope you guys have awesome Fridays. It's supposed to rain tomorrow, so hopefully I get to sleep in a little bit before going to work. Because I love a good rainy morning with that coffee. Nothing better. But yeah, I hope you have amazing Fridays. And I will see you Saturday for anime night. Sleep well, y'all. Sleep well. And